People love to buy. They don't love to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can have a conversation with someone in such a way that you are making it about them, not you, because that's the reason people don't like to sell, is because they're going, when I get them to buy this, I make money. For some reason, people think that's a bad thing.
Right.
And the way I think about this, because I'm still in the sales industry. I'm a coach. I'm selling programs. I'm selling all kinds of stuff. What I do is...
Welcome, badass entrepreneurs. It's time to hear the world's movers, shakers, and difference makers spill their secrets for unlimited success. So strap in, for Badass Entrepreneurs Only begins now. Welcome, badass entrepreneurs, to For Badass Entrepreneurs Only. And I am thrilled to have Jennie Bellinger with us today. So let's get to it. Jennie Bellinger is a certified professional coach and the host of, get this, Badass Direct Sales Mastery, BDSM for short. She works with badass direct sales leaders with ADHD to help them focus on business growth activities so they can be present with their family. An entrepreneur since 2010, she understands the desire to contribute to your family's future and be present with them in the here and now, and how difficult it can be balancing these two priorities. So Jennie has learned the hard way while building two separate businesses, raising two kids, and navigating a divorce to fulfill that need to provide and be there for her children. Jennie is known as the direct sales Dom. We'll be talking about that. But luckily, as a certified professional coach, her methods are very effective and not too painful. Jennie Bellinger, welcome to For Badass Entrepreneurs Only.
Oh, I cannot even tell you how excited I am to be here. This is going to be so fun.
I know we talked for 30 seconds before the show started. I'm like, let's just get into it. So we're going to be talking about this Dom BDM stuff in a minute, but I'll just say this. Being interesting is the new currency. It used to be being good was the currency, right? It used to be like longevity was the currency, but now it's being interesting. And of course, for the long timeline, right? You have to be interesting and good. But you've done something that is right out of the box, very interesting. And we will be talking about that. And it's super courageous too.
Agreed.
Right? But what the hell? We're here. Let's talk about this. Okay. Yeah. How did you decide to be the Dom, right? We know what we're talking about, BDSM, Dom. You could get yourself in a world of trouble doing this by attracting the wrong kind of attention, but you have really mastered the ability to turn this attention grabber and being interesting into a tremendous amount of credibility. How'd you do that?
I took the first step into the BDSM thing because it was a way to stand out from my potential competitors in the podcasting world. So when I launched my podcast, I did my research. I went and looked to see what other direct sales, network marketing, and MLM podcasts were out there. How many of them were hosted by women? What were those shows like? And what I found was their cover art, if they had a picture of them, fell into one of two categories. They fell into the power pose, power suit, I'm going to help you, right?
Yeah.
Like very, and you guys can't see me, but what I should let you know about myself is I have purple hair and tattoos. Now, 4 years ago, I did not have purple hair. I had tattoos. Not all of them were visible, but that's neither here nor there. But it's not me, right? Power suit, power pose, not me. I tried that persona on. I didn't like it. The other bucket was soccer moms. Also not me. My kids are creatives. They are not athletes. I am not a soccer mom. That's my sister. My sister is baseball mom. She's basketball. That's not me. I'm not soccer mom. So I was like, okay, great. I'm neither of these two things. So that's nice. But what am I? What makes me stand out? So I had a conversation with my coach and my podcast coach and really tried to figure, okay, what makes me different? And we came up with the idea that, first of all, when I was in my direct sales business, I always identified as a badass direct sales leader.
Right.
I knew I was badass at it. I felt I was badass at it. And I had proof. I've got trophies on my desk to prove my badassery in the business, right? I've got the trips, the cars, the cash, all the things to prove the badassery of this. So I was like, okay, so badass is part of it. Now we're already at direct sales. So BDS, I am a member of the kink community. So I'm okay with putting that out there. And I thought, how much fun would it be? Frankly, if somebody wants a very conservative conversation around sales, recruiting, and leadership, they can get that on any one of those other 300 podcasts that are out there. If you want a fun conversation around sales, recruiting, and leadership, then you want to listen to mine, because I take concepts from the kink community and go, okay, how does this fit in with either sales, recruiting, building a team, leadership, communication, all the things that we need to have in business, and go, how can I take this and teach about the kink world so it's less taboo and scary? Because I'm not scary. I've never actually whipped anybody. I've flogged people.
In our culture now, what you're doing to be looked at as, oh my God, you are making women into X, Y, or Z, right? Once you put this out there, it's out there. You can't pull it back in. Here's what I see what you have done. It's important to be interesting, right? Okay, hook is the 1% of it. The 99% is, what do you do after the hook?
Yeah.
And it has to be a tremendous amount of value. And you use it as a grabber, but it's not the primary focus of what you're doing. The primary focus of what you're doing is offering value. I never see value becoming something that people don't want.
Oh,
I don't see a future where people say, I just want a hook. I just want something interesting with no value. Hard to imagine that future.
Yeah, even the ADD person in me goes, yes, I like the idea of attention and just having the hook. But at the same point, there's got to be something that keeps me around. There's got to be a dopamine hit in that. And that's where the value comes in, is every episode. And this is why I love what I do. So on the day that we're recording this, literally my 200th episode just launched today.
Hey, congratulations.
Okay? Yes. So that's huge, because I still am getting downloads, and the number of downloads is growing.
Nice.
So that shows that I've got the chops for offering value. Here's what's really so funny about the podcasting thing that I didn't know was going to be true for me when I started, which is having all the conversations that I have end up benefiting me, because I'm learning from the best of the best in the business. I'm talking to coaches, authors, speakers, people who are leaders, like 7-figure earners in the industry. And I get to go, ooh, how can I take that and apply that in my business?
Exactly.
And then the extra dopamine hit that I get is that I get to share it with my audience. I get to pick the brains of some of the most brilliant human beings on earth and then share it with everybody. I freaking love that so much. I get so fucking excited about that. And it's true definition of win-win. The most badass entrepreneurs, the most badass humans I know are people who are always out there trying to figure out what's the win-win. How do you win? How do I win? How do we make sure we both win in this? They get a win and I get a win, because I get to have a conversation with you and share my brilliance with your audience. And that's what's so fucking amazing about podcasting, is that we all get the win.
And I love what you're saying, because this goes right back into sales, right? Unless you're providing somebody value, the moment you start talking to them, you're not engaged in a real sales conversation. Like, you are walking down the path of taking advantage of somebody.
Or trying to convince, right? If you already are wondering, am I trying to convince them? The answer is yes. Because if you're already wondering it, yes. And the reason convincing doesn't work is because the first 3 letters of convince are con. And that's how they feel, right? That the other person feels conned if you are convincing them to do something.
So let's talk about your industry, right? And it is a hated and scorned industry. It is direct sales, which is also multi-level marketing. Also, I'm going to use the P word, pyramid.
Oh, can we talk about that? It's one of my favorite myths to bust. Okay. The really quick thing around this. All right. Pyramid scheme is defined by the Federal Trade Commission, because I've done my research, because mama ain't no idiot, as a scheme in which there is no actual product sold, but the idea of a business, the idea of something, there's no physical thing sold.
Mhm.
That's a pyramid scheme, right? So that's the first myth busted, right? Because any company that is selling a physical product or service, so there are some direct sales and network marketing companies that sell services, not physical tangible products like skin creams or lipsticks or clothing or jewelry or kitchen products or whatever there is out there. So there is a physical product. So that right there, myth busted. There's a physical product, not a pyramid scheme. Now, the other part of that is where the money comes into play. And this is where the Federal Trade Commission gets involved. And this could be something I could go on forever about, because I literally just had to read a legal document, a ruling from a federal judge against the FTC because they overstepped their bounds, claiming that a particular company was a pyramid, and they were not. And so that got laid out there. That's a whole other conversation that if y'all want to do your research, go look it up. FTC versus Neora. Have fun. But the second part of the pyramid piece is anybody who goes, yeah, but all the people who make the money are at the top and not the people at the bottom. And I'm like, oh, okay. So most of the people who have this complaint have a 9-to-5 job.
Here we go.
And I go, so how much money does your CEO make? How much money do you make? How many CEOs do you have? And how many are there who do what you do? Sounds to me like your company is shaped like a pyramid.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If that's their argument, AT&T is a pyramid. Anheuser-Busch is a pyramid. Procter & Gamble is a pyramid. All of them are pyramids because guess what? The person at the top, the CEO, is making more money than anybody else.
The truth is, once somebody believes something, the effort you put into getting them to not believe something is wasted effort.
It can be. Yeah, absolutely. And in many cases, that's the truth. But sometimes what I've seen happen is just because I, as a coach in the industry, exist, helps begin to change people's minds. They at least become less skeptical because they're like, oh, wait, you're coaching people in that industry? Coaches exist for executives. So if you're coaching in that industry, it must be somewhat valid. Just the existence of what I do for people helps bring validity to a majority of the industry. Now, every company is every person who's in the industry great? No, but the same can be true for, I don't know, financial companies and mortgage companies, but yet nobody's bitching and moaning about the mortgage companies and financial companies that screwed us all over in 2008. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I can see you have no opinion about this at all whatsoever.
None at all. Okay. Past the pyramid part.
Okay. What I want to talk to you about is that this industry gets a lot of flack. Right. So let's get back to that.
Sure.
And yet it's a really powerful way to put a product out there.
Oh, yeah.
I use a product called Optavia, which I also sell. It is a weight loss program, and it is only available through direct sales. And I have a few clients. I never intended to be an Optavia coach, but here I am. The reason that I haven't tried to get clients is I love the product. Now, would you agree, Jennie, that if somebody gets into network marketing to make money, not because they like the product, they're already doomed?
I wouldn't say doomed, because here's what's interesting. Based on the research I've done, 87% of people who get into the industry, money is not a motivating factor for them at all anyway, right? It's not even in their top 3. That's what's so fascinating to me. But what's interesting, of the people who do have money as a motivating factor in their top 3, it doesn't even have to be their number 1 reason. But as long as it's in their top 3, those tend to be the people who make it to the top of leadership.
Really?
Even though money is a motivating factor for them, they still also have, and this is what's important, one of their other aligning values, which helps make them successful, is because they are customer and team oriented.
And that's one of the cool things about this industry. It's both, right? You have to build a team in order to be successful. And so let's talk about one of my favorite things, which is leadership. Let's talk about sales and leadership in this industry.
Yeah.
What are the big mistakes that most people make in this industry that causes them to fail?
First of all, one of the great things about this industry is the flexibility. One
Okay.
of the bad things about this industry is the flexibility, right? My mentor used to regularly say, if you're not careful, you might flex yourself right out of business. Because that thing that you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And suddenly you realize it's 3 weeks later, 3 months later, 6 months later, and you haven't done the thing, right? That's one of the big things is people rely too much on the flexibility instead of treating this like a business. They treat it like a side gig. They treat it like a side hustle. And as long as you talk about it that way, think about it that way, and behave that way, it will always be your side hustle. It will never be your full-time gig, because how you think about it, how you talk about it, how you behave around it is what it is. It's never going to grow past that. That's one of the big things that I try to get people who want to make it a full-time thing is stop talking about it like that. Because then you treat it differently. Because literally, this is a business that can be built starting at 15 minutes a day. Don't tell me you don't have 15 minutes a day, because you do. That's where it starts. And the people who become successful are the people who add another 15 minutes to what they're doing until they are achieving what they want.
It's easy to add 15 minutes headed in the wrong direction. What is it that somebody who is getting into direct sales, what should they be doing with those 15 minutes and the next 15 minutes?
I always tell people start with the income producing activities. So, well, I will tell you first of all what it's not. Posting products on the Facebook. That does not produce income. Yes, income producing activity is having a conversation with somebody, reaching out to somebody to say, hey, I thought of you in regards to insert product or company name. Would you be open to a conversation around this?
Yep.
20 minutes. That's an income producing activity, right? If you reached out to 3 people a day doing that, it takes about 15-ish minutes to do that reach out to 3 to 5 people. Your business will explode. You won't know what to do with 3 people a day, because one of them isn't going to respond, one of them will say no, and one of them will say yes.
Because the mouth of the funnel for this industry is so wide, pretty much anybody can begin. You get a lot of people who really don't understand selling, who don't understand about being influential or building teams. And so selling is then a dirty word.
Yeah.
So how do you move people into it's okay to sell? It's good to sell. And when they call someone and the person that they call says, trying to sell me something, how do they exactly?
Yes, yes, I am.
How do we take away that bad feeling about sales so people can do it and feel good about it?
Here's the thing. When you make it about them, it becomes less about the selling and more about the buying. People love to buy. They don't love to be sold. So if you can have a conversation with someone in such a way that you are making it about them, not you, because that's the reason people don't like to sell, is because they're going, when I get them to buy this, I make money. For some reason, people think that's a bad thing. The way I think about this, because hello, I'm still in the sales industry. I'm a coach. I'm selling services. I'm selling packages. I'm selling programs. I'm selling all kinds of stuff. What I do is I use the monetary as a metric for how many people I'm helping. And how much money I make is a reflection of how many people I am helping in their business. And yes, it does come down to, yes, you are helping people, but there's nothing wrong with it being both of you are getting something back to the win.
That's one of the beautiful things about this is, once you free yourself of the fear of somebody else's judgment of you, your life becomes unlimited, right? So I love what you said. If someone said, are you trying to sell me? And you go, yeah, I am, because this is the only way to get it into your hands, right? Instead of going, no, I'm not selling, right? I'm helping, right? The moment you become defensive about something, pyramids, then it causes you to have a very big reaction. And then the other person is in control of your sale, which is the worst situation to be in. So how do you help people ease that? I don't want to be a salesperson feeling.
They just have to realize if you're not a salesperson, you're not in business. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. It's true for the cable company, the mobile companies. They have to sell something or they're out of business, right? Sales is a part of business. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you are going to sell. That's all there is to it. How do I do it in such a way that I feel good about it, they feel good about it, and there is a way to do that? There's a
Talk
way
to us about that way.
Yeah. And it comes to making it about them, right?
Okay. So
And-
how do you do that? Because when you go to sell somebody something, in your mind, you're still thinking, I want to sell them this. How do you get that out of your mind so you're focused on them?
How do I qualify them as an ideal buying prospect? That's the mindset that you want to have instead. You aren't trying to sell everybody. You're going, I'm going to talk to you and go, okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And when you've been in business long enough, you know what the questions are to ask. I can't say it's going to be the same for everybody. But when you ask the right questions, you can begin to qualify them as an ideal prospect for you or not.
Give me an example.
So, for example, when I sold jewelry, okay, that was the business I was in. I was in a direct sales jewelry business. I knew that most of the time, my ideal customers were not necessarily nurses or daycare providers because they just can't wear a lot of jewelry. If I'm talking about them wearing jewelry at work, what I needed to find were the nurses and daycare providers and teachers and stay-at-home moms who wanted jewelry. They wanted to get dressed up. That's who I had to find. The people who were into bling, the people who were into all of that, because that was how I qualified people, right?
Why did you focus on that market?
I focused on that market because that's who I knew. Still to this day, a lot of nurses in my network, because my father was a physician. My ex-husband worked at a doctor's office and still works for a major hospital company here in St. Louis. So I'm surrounded by healthcare professionals still to this day, just because it's part of who I know and they're still on my
That's
Facebook.
cool.
But the other thing is what I found was interesting that I started a market that I did not anticipate getting into, but I did, was biker chicks. Because I had such a badass personality, I have always had a confidence around this, even though I may not feel it, I'm still going to put on the quote unquote fake it till you make it. Not that I recommend that for everybody, but find where you are confident, grab that feeling and take it with you into the place where you aren't confident. And it will happen. But the biker chicks thing was really interesting because I met one at a party. She was not anticipating liking any of our jewelry because she was like, she had been to a million of the other companies' parties. And there was maybe one or two things that were ever appealing to a biker chick. But the company I was with, Park Lane Jewelry, has a great, badass rock star, leather studded. And that was the kind of jewelry I love to wear because I'm a badass. So I wore that kind of stuff anyway. Like I used to be a backup singer in a band. It made sense for me, right? But
this is going into something that's really important, which is you talked about the culture that you knew, the healthcare culture, right?
Yeah.
Those were your people. You knew them. You knew how to talk to them. You understood them. Like when you first started talking about nurses, I thought you were going to say, so I didn't sell to nurses. But then when I understood that, oh, this is a group that you're connected with and familiar with, it's perfect. So one of the pillars of this is know your market. Not know the market you want to sell to, know your people and know how to connect what you're selling to your people.
Because when you're having these types of conversations, when you can ask the kinds of questions, when you start in direct sales and network marketing, who do you start with? You start with your warm market. You start with people. Ask them to introduce you to people that you don't know yet. But as part of that process, I was also going, hey, I really love your feedback because as a healthcare professional, what kind of jewelry are you into? What I know you can't wear like rings at work because you're washing your hands 750 times a day because they're in healthcare. And this was pre-COVID, man. So rings were not an option. So I knew if somebody was a nurse, I wasn't necessarily going to be pushing rings. but they could do small earrings, small necklaces. Most of those things were allowed. So I would be like, okay, this is the kind of stuff I learned when I had a healthcare group of people show the things that they could wear at work and then be like, and do you guys want to see the stuff you can wear when you're not at work? Oh, look here. Because then it showed that I knew that audience, right?
Yes.
Same
Right.
with the daycare professionals. If you're working with babies and toddlers, you don't wear long necklaces or long earrings that babies can pull out. It's a really bad idea, and it hurts, and it's bloody and messy, and it's not fun. But they also, when I could find the daycare providers who, when they weren't providing daycare or they weren't working at the preschool, when they were going out with their spouse, when they were going out with their girlfriends, they wanted the blingy bling. They wanted the really
Mhm.
sparkly stuff because they were like, I never get to wear it during the day, so I want to wear this when I go out on Friday night. Fan freaking tastic. Great. I
Mm.
can get you in with that, right? It was knowing that kind of stuff. But then once I got in with the biker chicks, it was really fun because then they were like, oh my God, I have to introduce you to all the ladies I ride with.
And so what I hear that you did is you either understood your market or you researched your market and
Yeah.
you spoke to them in the language that they knew and talked to them about what they wanted based on what fits for them, right? Exactly. You can't wear a necklace if you're dealing with childcare. You knew that, so you wouldn't try to sell a necklace to them. And that makes them feel good, right? People
Yeah.
feel good when they feel like them. It's why we go to the same organizations or churches or mosques or synagogue, right? It's why we connect with people. It is endemic in the human spirit that we want to connect with people who get us. And if you do not show your market that you get them, you either need to choose a market that you get or do a tremendous amount of research. But
Oh,
don't
yeah.
tell me that your product is good for everybody, because that means it's good for nobody.
And nobody feels called out because when you read my bio, like if anybody were to rewind back to the beginning, or although if you don't want to rewind back to the beginning, here, I know my bio because I know my people. Direct sales leaders with ADHD.
Mm.
People either went, I know someone like that, or they went,
Right.
I know someone with ADHD, or I know a direct sales leader. I don't know if they have ADHD, but something pinged in a portion of the people who are listening to this, something pinged in their head, right? Or they
Mm.
went, oh, that's me. Right.
Right.
And that's what you want is when you can identify the people that you serve the best, right? And for me, it's the direct sales leader, right? Because they are successful enough that they're not leaving the industry. So I don't
Mhm.
have to worry about them leaving. They're not going out of business because that's what I dealt with when I first started coaching. I was bringing in all the people who were trying to rescue their direct sales business. Does that make
Mm.
sense? They were like, this is my last ditch effort, man. So about some of my clients would be successful and some of them wouldn't. So I learned, okay, I can't be talking to people who are trying to rescue their direct sales business. I need to be talking to the leaders who are sitting there going, I am successful. I just need to be more successful. And I don't know how. I've hit a plateau, right? I know that about my best client now compared to who I was working with 7 years ago when I started. So it's a
Gotcha.
whole different thing. But when you know your audience, when you have a name for them, when you market to those people, when you market to that group of people,
Mm.
they feel called. You've hit your marketing mecca. You've hit
Mhm.
your marketing gold mine. When you put things out on social media and people are responding with, I feel called out and seen at the same time.
And it's so important. Like, you can't just pick an audience because you think, oh, that's a great audience. There was a guy in a business group that I was in, and he said, I'm looking for CEOs who have ADHD. And as you don't have ADHD, clearly, like, you're this very low key guy. It's, oh, I can sell shit to them and I can sell my services to them. So it's disingenuous.
Yeah.
And what is so important in sales, any kind of sales, is that you create a bond, a connection. We're house hunting right now, and the real estate agents that we like talking to are the ones who give us a tremendous amount of value before we even talk about buying a house from them. They're very knowledgeable and they make us feel good. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is leadership, because in direct sales, leadership is how you make the money. It's not by selling product. It's being a
Right.
leader. Yeah, right. And there's what I call the 3 silent killers of success, right? Sleep, stress, and productivity.
Now, badass entrepreneurs never get enough sleep. We all have way too much stress, and that puts our productivity in the crapper. I found something that beats the silent killers. It's a technology that lives on your phone. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but it's sound waves that put your brain into states of relaxation and focus. Now, when I first heard about this, I just thought it was bullshit, right? But then I heard that this company, they're called NuCalm, NuCalm. NuCalm is being used by the Army, by U.S. Special Forces, the FBI, professional football teams, pilots, surgeons are using NuCalm instead of anesthesia. And what's his name? Tony Robbins just jumped on board with NuCalm, right? So I thought, at the very least, I got to try this. So I downloaded the app, I put it on my phone, and it just sounds like music. But oh my God, after one session, I was on fire. 20 minutes of NuCalm was like 2 cups of coffee. And then on the other side, I use NuCalm at night, and it puts me out like a light. I wake up in the morning, shot out of a cannon. Now, if you want a free week of NuCalm, it's super simple. Just text the word CALM, CALM, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366, and text the word CALM, CALM. Get more sleep, feel less stress, and blow your productivity out of the water. Just text CALM, CALM, to this number, 213-409-8366, and get a free week of NuCalm. Free. Okay, so sorry for going off like this. I'm just super fired up about it. Let's get back into this. How does somebody who doesn't feel like a leader develop leadership skills? Where does that begin?
Luckily, many companies, at least if they're in the direct sales and network marketing industry already, many companies already have the beginnings of leadership training. They have options out there. And if not, Google leadership, like leadership skills, leadership training, leadership books. There's a lot of it out there. There's so much to learn around it. And hey, I've been learning leadership literally since college. Okay. Like I took leadership courses in college, and here I am, 46 years old. I have no problem saying my name because I've earned every goddamn second of my life. And I'm still learning about leadership. I'm still growing in my own leadership, right? So it's being willing to learn, right? Because great leaders, one of the commonalities that they have is they are always willing to learn more. They never think they know everything, because the most dangerous 4 words, and I learned this from my friend Kimberly Lebbing, the 4 most dangerous word in entrepreneurship, I already know that. If an entrepreneur finds himself saying, I already know that, ding, ding, alarm bell, red alert sirens should be going off in your head as soon as those words come out your mouth or scroll through that brain, because you're in trouble. If you think you already know that, if you think you have every single aspect, if you consider yourself an expert in that topic, you're done for. Because even the experts in the world don't consider themselves experts. They put the title on themselves because it looks good, but they still know that they have more to learn about their topic, right? So in the world of leadership, there are a lot of different places you can go. There are a lot of, but what you need to find is a person that you're aligned with, who is teaching leadership skills, who is teaching leadership knowledge, who is helping people to understand what it's going to take to get to the next level of leadership from where they are and where it all starts with. The key to leadership is self-leadership. If you can lead yourself, you can lead anybody else.
What does that mean? Describe that.
So the mindset I talk about when it comes to self-leadership comes from one of my mentors, because hello, I am not in this alone, and nor will I ever be. It is from Scott Conway, which is, if you won't follow you, why should I follow you? And that's where imposter syndrome comes in leaders, because many times the reason leaders feel imposter syndrome is because there's things that they're telling themselves to do that they're not doing. So if they're going, I won't even follow me, how can I get others to follow me?
I see. So they're not walking the talk.
In some aspects, right? They may be killing it in certain areas, but not doing it in others. And they know that, but nobody else does. And
Okay.
that's where the imposter syndrome piece comes in. The key to great leadership really is self-leadership and seeing those kinds of things and learning how to lead yourself to do the things that you say to do. Because then when you do what you say you're going to do, then you believe that then at least if I put it out there for others, then others might follow me too.
Mm. So here's something I hear from people in network marketing, which is my team is so unmotivated, right? I can't get them motivated. So what do we know about that person who says that?
Here's the thing. Yes, it's probably also because they are not fully motivated themselves, and motivation's a myth. To me, motivation is a myth. It's an excuse. It's a reason to not do something. It's an excuse we use to say, oh, I'm not motivated to do that. No shit. For the runners in the room, how many of you want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go run in the rain? You don't, but you know what? You've made that commitment to yourself, so you do it. Motivation, people believe that they have to have motivation to get started. And that's not the way motivation works. That's not the way our brain works. Our brain gets motivated when we see that we're in motion. That we're doing something. So all it takes is just getting it started. So if somebody, the listener right now, who's listening to this right now, there is something that they have not felt motivated to do, but it's on their to-do list and it continues to be on their to-do list. So here's what I posit to you. Try this. Tell me if it doesn't work. Do the first step. Whatever it is, the first step of that thing that's on your to-do list that you've been saying, I need motivation. Trust me on this. Skip the motivation part and just take the first step and see what happens. Because then you're like, oh, I'd be an idiot not to do step 2. I'd be an idiot not to do step 3. I'd be an idiot not to do step 4. I'm already this far. And then all of a sudden, holy shit, you're motivated. It's crazy because you're like, oh my God, now I just got into flow. I'm now doing the thing. And the motivation comes because you took the steps and now you're starting to see, oh, I'm almost done with the thing. So now I just want to complete the thing.
The idea that there is something outside of us that needs to show up in order for us to be successful. I'm not motivated. I'm just not courageous. I'm just not outgoing, right? I'm too shy, right? These labels that we slap on ourselves are this thing that we're looking for that just should just happen. The motivation comes from taking action, right? You take action and then the motivation shows up. You take the action and then the courage shows up. You jump off the cliff and then you grow the wings, right? It doesn't work the opposite way. And so in somebody who is looking to build a team in either direct sales or just regular entrepreneurship, how can they do that? What can they do to begin building that team and inspire confidence in people around them?
Ooh, great question. So it really starts with identifying who they want. One of the big mistakes that a lot of people in direct sales, network marketing, and MLM make around the team building aspect is they are willing to take anybody and everybody. And so guess what happens when you are willing to take anybody and everybody? You get anybody and everybody, if you get anybody at all. So that means you also get the people who are not motivated. You get the people who are not going to do the thing. You get the people who are kidnappers. And that is not my term. I borrowed it from somebody else. So a kidnapper, somebody who jumps into the industry just to get the kit, just to get the product in the kit, and then they disappear. They're like, ooh, I can get $1,000 worth of blah, blah, blah for $200. Okay, here's $200. And then they ghost you. That happens because you haven't identified who you want to work with. And so what I'm regularly teaching my clients and working with my clients on is when you are in the recruiting conversation with somebody, as you are beginning to have the conversation with somebody about, do I want them on my team? And this is true whether you are recruiting for network marketing or bringing somebody into your business. If you have and I'm putting air quotes around this, traditional business, okay, would you go on vacation with them? Because in direct sales and network marketing, if you are a trip earner and you help your team earn trips, guess what? You're going on vacation with them.
Right.
Right? If you don't want to go on vacation with them, if you don't want to spend time with them, if they don't have a positive attitude and they are a downer, you are not going to change that. I promise you, they have to want to change to be a positive person. but you are not going to change that. So if you have somebody who you're like, oh my God, please do not stick me on a cruise ship with them. I don't care if there's 5,000 other people on the ship. I don't want to be on the ship with them because they're going to follow me around because I'm their leader. Don't recruit them. Duh. But the other side of that coin is you have to know who you do want. Who do you want? What do they look like? Where do they hang out? What do they do? How do they think? What are their values? And I'm throwing all of those questions out really fast because all of those things matter. And it's the ideal customer avatar that people talk about all the time. The difference is now remove the word customer, insert team member. Who's the ideal team member avatar that you want? Who do you want? How do you find those people? Where do you find those people? How do you figure out? Because we do not walk around with neon signs above our head saying, I am loyal. I have a work ethic, right? We don't have that. That's not obvious to everybody. So how are you going to identify that in the people that you're talking to? And that's one of the things they have to know in advance. And if you don't know it, have a conversation with somebody like me who knows how to help you identify that.
Let's just be clear. You're going to be really uncomfortable.
Right? Oh, yeah.
In this business, and we're just talking about this specifically because it's your business, you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be uncomfortable when you start selling. You're going to be uncomfortable when you start building your team. You're going to be uncomfortable when you try to motivate your team. You're going to be uncomfortable when you get pushback. You're not going to know how to do it. And if you stay in this long enough, and I'm sure you've seen this, Jennie, you start to get turned on by the fear because you know that the fear is a precursor of something really cool on the other side.
Oh, it's a rush, man. It's better than any freaking drug out there. Not that I've taken a bunch of drugs, but I'm just saying.
Out of the drugs you have done.
Out of the drugs I have done, I would still say the wins that come out of pushing past a fear that you have, whether it's in sales, recruiting, leadership, learning a new technology, whatever it may be, right? The win that comes out of that is such a freaking rush because you're like, yes, I did it, right? And that's the confidence builder. That's the competence builder that people get. And I, as a coach, it's my job in this, it's my job to push people out of their comfort zone. Now, I don't shove them out like a mama bird out of the nest. Okay, here you go. If you don't fly, you die. What I'm doing is I'm pushing people out a little bit at a time. Take this step. Now take this step. Now take this step, right? Yeah. The reason you have fear is because your brain has wired to keep you alive. Right. So every time you feel fear, it's because your brain, the unevolved part of your brain is going, you're going to die if you do this. No, you're not. Right. And then when you realize, I didn't die. Okay, I may not have gotten the result I wanted, but I didn't die. Then it shuts that part of your brain up just a little bit. But then the next time you go to take the next step that's out of the comfort zone, that's whatever, it's gonna pipe right back up. It's gonna happen.
And those are the bells and buzzers and alarms that are always going to go off inside of you when you're doing something new, and especially in leadership and sales. And what I've found is the reason leadership and sales is so difficult is because you have to break rapport with other people in order to be great at sales and great at leadership. Someone is going to be unhappy with you in part of the sales process because what you're doing is you're moving them through a fear. So if I talk to you about Optavia and say, hey, this is going to help you achieve your goal of being healthy, there might be a point in your head like, oh crap, what if I go on this thing and it works, but then I gain all the weight back? Ooh, that feeling. Ooh, I don't want to have that feeling. I better just avoid this. So I'm going to need to walk you through that. And while I'm walking you through that, you're going to push back at me because now I'm pushing at this part of you that doesn't want to be recognized.
Yeah.
And so I have to break rapport with you, right? I have to be disliked by you in order to help you.
Just a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
I don't know that it necessarily breaks rapport unless you're doing it from the place of convincing that we talked about before. When you're answering somebody's objection, and I don't mean an objection as in they're saying no, they're saying, what if? What if I go on this product and I lose the weight? And in their head, I'm going to put air quotes, get healthy, right? Because they don't know what the program is about, right? They're seeing it as shakes and whatever, right? Shakes
Right.
and bars. And I know that there's more to Optavia. Obviously, I'm,
Yeah,
you know,
it's okay.
customer, but there's so much more to the program that they don't know. So then you're able to share, you're not breaking rapport unless they don't want the pushback. But a good salesperson can realize, okay, there comes a point when you've lost them and you either can try and win them back, or you can go, obviously this is not for you. And that's okay. Because when you do that, one of two things will happen. First thing that you'll see happen with them is relief. Oh, okay, they're not going to try and sell me anymore. What you don't see happening is, but why not? That's what happens in there. But why isn't he trying to sell me that anymore? This is what we in the sales world call the takeaway.
And so what do you do with that?
You maintain relationship with that person, because here's the thing. Ultimately, relationship is, even if they never buy from you, they may send you people who will. Because they go, you know, what Dan and I figured out was I was not their client. I was not his client. But you know what? I really think this would be good for you. And so now you get the referral, right? So you maintain the relationship, because the relationship is important, assuming that this is someone when you want to continue a relationship with, right? If it's someone you don't know, then at least they see you as a nice person. They're not going to avoid you in the grocery store if you happen to live near each other, right? Part of me wanted to say, they're not going to avoid you in Schnucks, which you're going to giggle because you know where that is, right? But they're not going to avoid you in the grocery store. But for the people who go, but why not? Why isn't he selling me anymore? What if I did want this? What if this is the thing? You've now, basically, the way that you handle that is you could then say, look, this obviously isn't for you right now. That's okay. If you change your mind in the future, when you change your mind in the future, give me a call. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be doing this because I believe in this. And it's something that has worked for me. It is something that has worked for my other coaching clients that I've done, et cetera, et cetera. Because now you've put the ball back in their court and allowed them the freedom to call you when they're ready. And some people will, some people won't. But here's the interesting thing. They may become a client of somebody else's. That's okay. They were never yours. Because if they were yours, guess what would have happened? They would have signed on with you.
Yeah.
If you had the sales conversation. Now, what drives me batty is when somebody goes, that person became a customer for somebody else. They know I do this. Did you have the conversation with them to be your customer?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, they weren't yours because you didn't ask. You don't get to be butthurt about this if you didn't ask them, right? I had people who joined my team, and there were other people in the same company that I was with who live in the same region where I live, who reached out to me and said, how did you get so-and-so to be on your team? And I was like, I asked them and we had a conversation and it was a fit. Why? Oh, that's my cousin. And she knows I do this. And I was like, she never told me you did this. Because otherwise I would have told her to talk to you first, because I don't want to break family relationships. That's not what I'm about. But secondly, the second question I'm going to ask you as a leader, and it's a hard question. You're going to feel uncomfortable about it, but did you ever ask her to join your team?
And that's the fear, right? The fear, it's not the no, that's the fear. The fear is, I'm going to be outside of the rapport. I'm going to be outside of this relationship. Someone's going to say no to me. I'll feel bad. They might feel bad. It's uncomfortable. I just want to avoid that whole thing. And so that's what I'm talking about with the bells and buzzers and alarms. You have to build a relationship with them so that the alarms that tell you not to do something, you say, maybe I should. Like you said, it's not going to kill you. Let's see what happens if. It's something I talk to my clients about all the time. Let's just see what happens. It's an experiment. The people who say, my family's so tired of hearing me try to sell to them, ask them what they don't like. Learn to sell different. They may buy it, like you say, from someone else. What are you doing? And what way are you doing it that turns people off? And that's the investment that I see so few people doing in this business. They don't want to know what they're doing wrong. Right? They don't want to learn. I've said, hey, have you talked to the top salesperson in your company? No, like, why not? Well, why would they talk to me? Like, who knows? I don't know. Send them an email, see what happens. That's the limit. So let's say somebody right now is a badass direct sales leader and they have ADHD and they're like, I have got to get in touch with Jennie. How do they do that?
Best way to reach out to me is through my website, badassdirectsalesmastery.com. That is the place where I have a contact form. You can literally put yourself on my calendar. If somebody says, okay, no, I don't just want to go to your website, I want to speak to Jennie, then talkwithjennieb.com. That has a direct link because I open up a few spots on my calendar each week for people to have a complimentary session with me because I don't just take on random strangers as clients. Won't do it. Want to know why? Because my theme is BDSM. Right? I've made the mistake of taking on a client who is an absolute freaking weirdo because of the BDSM theme. And I was like, oh, have your money back. That's not me. You obviously did not listen to the podcast because you would know, right? But for people who want to have a conversation with me and go, hey, I want to pick your brain about this. Let's have a conversation. Go to Talk with Jennie B, and it's JENIE. So talkwithjennieb.com, and it'll get you right into my calendar so that you can set up a time. We'll have a short conversation. It's not a sales pitch, in case any of you are wondering. It's literally 30 minutes because here's what I'm doing. I'm also evaluating people to go, is this a good fit? Do I feel like I'm the best person for them? If not, I'm going to introduce you to the person who is. Because I don't take on everybody because I've learned if you take on everybody, you also get the pain in the asses. And I don't want a PETA. No, I want people that I'm like, oh, I know I can help you. That's the feeling I'm looking for when I'm talking to people is, oh my God, I can help them. Okay. And I still have that bells, whistles. Oh my God, now I have to ask the question. Guys, I still feel it. And I've been doing it for 13 years now in sales. Okay. I still feel it, but I get really excited because I care. And here's what I want to shift for people. One last thing, one last nugget. Those bells and whistles, when you feel them, you get to choose whether you call it fear or excitement, because fear and excitement feel exactly the same in your body. The only difference is the story you tell yourself of what you are calling that feeling. And so you'll notice I said, I get really excited talking to those people. And yes, I have those, oh my gosh, it's time to have the conversation. But I'm excited because I go, I know I can help you. Can we have that conversation? Are you open to talk about how me working with you would look like? And if they say nope, end of conversation. Cool. When you're ready to have that conversation, I'm here because I know I can help you. So easy. But then again, I still feel the excitement every time I ask it.
It's always going to be there. You take the action first and then you get the courage, right? You know what it's going to be like. So it's not something that stops you. So I'm going to say again, your website is badassdirectsalesmastery.com. And Jennie has provided some amazing direct sale resources. And to get those, just text the word DOM, D-O-M, to 213-409-8366. Text DOM, D-O-M, to 213-409-8366, and you will get Jennie's direct sales resources. There's a lot of things there that can help you get great at direct sales. Jennie, what have we learned? We've learned so much today. We've learned about selling. We've learned about leadership. We've learned a little bit about BDSM. We've learned about who not to enroll.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on for Badass Entrepreneurs Only and sharing your knowledge. It is such a delight to have you on. Your energy, your fun, your badassness. It's just been a joy. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. That's such a fun conversation. As you can tell, I get a little lit up about certain parts of the industry, just a little bit, but I love it. This has been so much fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dan. And I can't wait to have you on my show.
All right. We will talk again. Bye-bye.
Hey, one last thing. If you're feeling stuck in business life, wherever, download my book, Jumping the Gap, Kill Your Story and Take Action. In this book, you'll see how the stories that you tell yourself are stopping yourself from living your greatest life. Just text the word GAP, G-A-P, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366, and text the word GAP. It's a short read, it's fun, it's easy, and if you hate reading like I do, you can grab the audiobook. It's at that same link. Just text the word GAP, G-A-P, to 213-409-8366. Good luck. All right, that's it. Go out there and be badass.